All right, everybody. Selection Sunday, baby. We've gotten to this point. This is our biggest show of the year. And, man, I'm juiced. We've got a lot of controversy. We've got a lot of really challenging decisions that the CFP committee is facing. But this is the beauty of the sport. This is the entertainment of the sport now. So I'm just soaking it in. It's of course, it's coming down to Alabama, Miami, and Notre Dame when it comes to who gets led into the playoff and who doesn't. And so I decided about a half an hour ago that I'm going to start this show by telling a little story, because the dynamic between these fan bases right now with Alabama or Notre Dame and Miami pretty much teaming up against Alabama, it's hilarious. Let me tell you a little story to illustrate. So about probably 10 years ago to this point, I was at a place in Watervliet, New York called the Purple Pub. Shout out Purple Pub. Love that place. Always have a near and dear place in my heart. Well, this couple got into an argument in the back of the restaurant, and they were going at it. Like, people that were in the restaurant were all turning their heads back there like, what the hell is going on? Like, these two are going at it. It's kind of uncomfortable. Well, the owner of the restaurant, the owner of the Purple Pub, his name was Bucky, he comes walking to the back of the restaurant, and he's like, hey, guys, we got a couple complaints. I'm just going to ask you to tone it down a little bit. And they went from arguing with each other to then distributing the argument at him. And the wife gets all pissed, and she's like, you can take your fucking pizza and shove it. And the husband's like, that's my wife. You're talking to my wife. I'm like, you were just arguing with your wife in a very intense manner about 5 minutes ago. The wife and husband are Notre Dame and Miami, and the owner, Bucky, is Alabama. Because Notre Dame and Miami were going at it for the past few weeks about who deserves to get in. We beat you head to head. We deserve to get in. We have a better FPI. We deserve to get in. They were going at it. And now Alabama loses, and it's Catholics and convicts uniting against the tide. Crazy times we're living in. Crazy dynamic that we're living in. But before they reveal the CFP fields, I'm going to give my take about how I believe this should unfold and about how I think this will unfold. So the CFP has a business decision on its hands here. This Sunday might be the most pivotal point for college football that I've seen in my entire life as far as the future of the sport goes and how things could evolve and change. By letting certain teams in and keeping certain teams out, there could be ramifications that spur from this whole ordeal. Let me explain. If you keep Alabama out, all right, I get it. As an Alabama fan, I get it. After that performance yesterday, Alabama couldn't run the ball. Alabama's O-line looked terrible. Ty Simpson looked confused. If you want to leave them out, I get it. What I don't get down with is the argument of 3 losses, you're out. I saw that a lot yesterday. It's not as simple as that. They played in the conference championship. Notre Dame and Miami didn't. So the 3 losses alone shouldn't exclude Alabama from the CFP. But in the fashion that they lost, that is what should be the deciding factor. So if you want to leave Alabama out, okay, I get it. The reasoning makes sense. But the possible downside of that is teams contemplating not going to conference championships in future years and conferences potentially terminating their conference championships, which that's something that I don't want to see, because I genuinely had a really fun time watching those games yesterday. I did, especially the Ohio State-Indiana game. I mean, it was competitive as all hell. It was so much fun to watch, and I would really hate to lose this weekend. But that is what is at risk. That is what is at stake if Alabama is left out. That could be the ramifications. If Miami is left out, I understand it. They lost to 2 mid teams in SMU and Louisville. I totally get the logic behind leaving them out. but you run the risk of teams canceling those head-to-heads that we've seen these past several years. And those early season head-to-heads between top 10, top 15 teams that we saw this year are still some of the highest rated games this season, some of the games with the highest ratings that we've seen television-wise. I mean, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, Miami. We want to see these games. It's great for college football. And so we run the risk of that not being a thing if Miami is left out. And that makes me really nervous. I don't want to see that as a college football fan. If you leave Notre Dame out, then honestly, there's not as many ramifications as the other two. I mean, you can say that of the three, Notre Dame has looked the best, but they've also had a cupcake schedule down the stretch. I'm just going to call it as it is. Like I said, this is a business decision for the CFP here. As a business, you have to minimize risk and maximize potential benefit. Minimize costs, maximize return. And I think that the best way to do that, if you are the CFP, is to let Alabama and Miami in and keep Notre Dame out. And as a business, as the mechanism that the CFP is, you also have the power to make a statement about Notre Dame here. Because I think that I speak for all four Power Four conferences when I say that what Notre Dame is doing right now is bullshit. With being able to format their schedule the way that they want to, the way that they see fit, scheduling the most challenging games early on in the season, and then having the schedule progressively get easier and easier and easier as the season goes on. It's given them a benefit over every team that's in a conference right now, and yet they're being evaluated the same way. They're being evaluated on the same plane as teams like Alabama, as teams like Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, A&M, Miami, you name it. And to me, that's ridiculous. And I'll say this. If I'm Notre Dame, I would do the same thing. If I had the opportunity to stay out of a conference and pretty much cherry pick my schedule the way that I think works best for us to make a good impression on the CFP, I would do the same damn thing. What they do is brilliant. So I'm not knocking Notre Dame here, but I'm knocking the system supporting what they're doing. And I think that today is a huge opportunity for the CFP to make a statement about Notre Dame having to join a conference. Because I think at some point it's inevitable. That seems to be the one linchpin in all of this right now is Notre Dame not being in a conference. Because they're being evaluated the same way as teams that are, and they shouldn't be. And it pisses every team in a conference out there off, and it should, because you're forced to play who you have to play based on the guidelines of your conference. Notre Dame doesn't have to follow any guidelines. They follow their own guidelines. They're on Notre Dame time. And on a pivotal day like this, I just don't think that you can let a team that's not in a conference in. So that's my 2 cents on the whole ordeal. When you're a business and you have a decision to make, that decision can affect your image. And I think that it's just the best business decision leaving Notre Dame out. Granted, you let Alabama and Miami in. Alabama can do some damage. Like I said, I don't think that this team has played its best football just yet. But it's kind of like I was saying about Ohio State last night. I mean, it's a team full of 4 and 5 stars, and they just weren't playing with maximum intensity. And I haven't seen Alabama play a complete game yet this year, and so why would it happen in the playoffs? We've seen Miami kind of go up and down this season, had some big triumphant wins early on, beat Notre Dame head-to-head, blew out South Florida, blew out Florida State. Those wins seemed good at the time, but then we saw where those opponents went in the future. And they've kind of rebounded. They destroyed Pitt to end the season, had a couple big victories towards the end. And that's another common opponent with Notre Dame and Miami is Pitt. Notre Dame fans are saying, oh, well, we destroyed Pitt. Well, so did Miami. So that's the thing with Notre Dame too, is Notre Dame hasn't really done anything special this year. Beating USC at home is the only real statement that they made. If you watch that game closely, they didn't really pull away until late in the fourth quarter. And USC was going toe-to-toe with them for that whole thing. Miami did something special by, beating Notre Dame head-to-head. I think that should matter. And Alabama won 4 straight games against AP-ranked teams. You can't discount that. They're all still ranked to this day. They haven't fallen off. Yes, they lost to Georgia the second time they played them, but they went into their house and beat them the first time. You can't pretend that just didn't happen. So, yes, Alabama has some embarrassing losses. I mean, yesterday was a catastrophe for the Tide. Having 3 turnovers at home, Oklahoma's offense isn't even playing that great, and you find a way to lose that game, that's not great either. And then going to Tallahassee and losing to a sorry Florida State team, that'll always be a blemish on Alabama's resume. But I believe that Alabama has more of a backbone than Notre Dame because of the quality wins. Notre Dame doesn't really have a leg to stand on when it comes to quality wins. That's just my take. Let's talk about some of the others. I'm sure people have questions about Texas and Vandy as well, and BYU. BYU's run ended yesterday. I mean, they've lost to the same team twice now. They've gotten dominated both times, and that Texas Tech is going to be the caliber of team that BYU is going to have to play in the first rounds and in the playoff. And so there's no reason to risk having a blowout here. Hold on 1 second. I think Kona wants to come in here. All right, we're back. Had to bring the first lady in here, Kona. Back to Vanderbilt in Texas. So I think that Vanderbilt does have a pretty formidable case to make it into the playoff. I mean, their victories against Missouri, their victories against Tennessee. I mean, those were massive for Vanderbilt this year, and their only 2 losses are to Alabama on the road. And you look at that game, the final was 30-14. But Alabama had a garbage time touchdown that raised the score. That game, trust me, as a Bama fan, I was puckered up for that entire thing. It was close. Vandy played Alabama good on the road. And then the Texas game, I was at that game, and they almost took down Texas in DKR. I mean, they were down 31-10 at one point, but they stormed all the way back. Did the refs help them out a little bit? Yeah, but they still did what they needed to do to climb back, and Diego Pavia has performed great along the way. Texas, that's a true 3-loss team. Like, Alabama played an extra game, and so that's the question: should they be penalized for that or not? But Texas is a true 3-loss team, and I hear a lot of people crying about the Ohio State game. Should they schedule games like that in the future? The Ohio State game is not the discrepancy here. It's getting blown out by Florida, who finished the season with a losing record. That's the blemish on Texas' resume. It's the same case as Ole Miss last year. 3-loss team. They had that Kentucky loss on their resume, and that's ultimately what anchored them down. And so I think you keep Texas out for that reason. And, of course, your ACC champion, Duke. If I'm Vanderbilt, I'm riding if a 5-loss team gets let in over me. After beating, 3 top 25 teams that they beat this year, Duke is 8-5. I would be livid if I were a Vanderbilt team and that happened. All right, we are 15 minutes in. I remember this case last year of it taking a little while for them to release the schedule. I also wanted to say this too before we get into it. CFP, ESPN, you're not slick. I know what you're trying to do here with the whole embrace debate thing, the Tuesday night selection shows, building up the drama here. This whole CFP race feels very Love Island to me. Feels very The Bachelor to me. To where you're just manufacturing and building drama like you're having with Alabama, with Miami, with Notre Dame. And it builds up ratings. It builds up engagement. So it's like a double-edged sword for me because as a college football fan, I would prefer to just have a BCS championship again. I mean, that's what I enjoy the most. But then selfishly, as a content creator here, the way this is formatted is great because it assembles just so much hype and so much draw to the sport, and it has grown in popularity. Are there more casual fans now, voicing their opinions a lot? Yeah. But you know what? We're grateful to have them anyway. We're grateful to have every subscriber on this channel. And so, ESPN, CFP, you're not slick. And also, before we get into the release of the schedules here, I just want to say thank you to all the new subscribers to this channel over the past several days. It's been a massive couple days for the era. I think we've gained, 30, 40 subscribers in the past 2 days. And so we're on fire on here, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. This has been a massive weekend. So from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank everyone who has subscribed and joined the community over the past several days. And I'm excited for what's to come. I'm excited for these next couple weeks here. Now this whole thing is happening not that far from me here. I'm in Fort Worth, and this is taking place up at the Gaylord Texan Resorts in Grapevine. I've driven by that thing a lot. It's beautiful inside, I must say. Just side note. But let me know what y'all think. Do you think Alabama should be let in? Do you think Notre Dame should be let in? Do you think Miami should be let in? Do you think Texas should be let in? There's a lot of crazy Texas fans who think that they have a strong case. So, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm now as an Alabama fan, the butterflies are starting to stir inside of me as after this little commercial break here, we're gonna hear the verdict. 2 minutes and 56 seconds, we get the verdict. So, just gotta take a little swig of water in preparation. As we build up to the release of the schedule here, I think Oklahoma is going to be a lock at that 8 spot. That's not going to move. Texas A&M, Ole Miss, they didn't play pretty much locks where they are. Just shout out to Indiana last night. I mean, again, I'm so impressed by that team right now. I feel like they're the Josh Allen of college football. They're kind of a glitch in the matrix. What they're doing doesn't make a lot of sense at the surface, but when you go beneath it and assess the makeup of this team, really get it. I'm going to make a video about them at some point this week, too. I've got a lot to say about Indiana. Ohio State's going to be just fine. I'm not worried at all. It was a tough loss, but they also lost the game 13-10 going into the playoffs last year. So I'm not that worried at all. I think that they will regroup. And Texas Tech just looks like an SEC team in the Big 12. They just look different compared to their opponents. I want to look really quick at the poll that I have on my channel as well here, as far as who people think should get in, who makes it into the CFP. So far, voters are leaning Alabama at 38%, Notre Dame at 33%, Miami at 15%, and Texas at 15%. And so the Texas faithful are really showing up and showing out, but it really reminds me of the Alabama faithful last year. And I will say that Kona. And I will say that I was against Alabama getting in last year, so I'm going to use the same standard to say that Texas doesn't belong in the college football playoff this season either. Give me 1 second here before this thing starts. Kona's been a handful here, but now hopefully she's calm as we go into the official release of these CFP rankings. I'm feeling it now. I'm feeling it. I'm nervous. I don't want to fucking swear on here if this thing doesn't go the way that I want to. The Bama fan is starting to come out of me, but for the sake of the show, I'll keep it objective as always. All right, here it is. Here it is. Let's do this thing. I'll put the sound on the TV for the hell of it. Ooh, Pitt plays Hofstra in basketball today. Oh, it's going to be a fucking blowout. Hofstra, right near where my aunt and uncle live in Yaphank, so know a lot about Hofstra, the pride. One more thought here before we go into this. Oregon. I feel like they got a lot of injuries right now. Offensive line, wide receivers. I'm curious to see how that's going to impact them in the playoff here, but they are a virtual lock in their position right now with just one loss. But hopefully they had some chips and salsa in that CFP room yesterday and watch this game like the rest of us. I mean, it looked very stiff, looked very uptight. Didn't know if there were a lot of ball knowers in there. Hopefully they make some decisions today that's rooted in ball knowledge. But nonetheless, here we go. I said it last year. I'm going to say it again. They draw this shit out so much. Like, just tell us who's in. I mean, shit. We've only got, what is it, 37 minutes until NFL starts. By the way, we're hard stopping once we get to noon. I'm going to break down the games a little bit, but we hard stop at noon today. All right. Here's the verdict. Oh, they're going to start at the top. You fuckers. Honestly, Indiana, the number one team in the country. That's still, at 13-0, that's still just crazy to see. Congratulations, Hoosier fans. Pretty confident that Georgia will be number 2. I think they've earned that. I think you got Georgia at number 2. Then you got Ohio State at number 3. Yeah, I put Ohio State number 3 since they lost to the number 2 team in the country, and then Texas Tech at 4. I thought about flipping them in Tech, because Tech has one loss too. Yeah, I keep Tech at 4. The losingest team in the history of the sport to this year's gold standard. Ohio State is number 2. Okay, I don't completely agree with that. I know they lost to the number 2 team in the country, so logically you can't drop them. But Georgia won their conference championship, so I think that should mean a little bit more. That already doesn't speak a lot for conference championships. So now it's kind of like, well, why the fuck did Georgia play the game? Not a good start. Not a good start for the CFP committee. One of my friends was texting me about Tulane getting in, how they got destroyed by Ole Miss earlier in the season. And it's just crazy that a team like that is probably going to get let in over Vanderbilt or Texas or possibly Notre Dame. Side note, I just think that's the whole G5 team the whole G5 thing is kind of nuts. All right, Georgia sits at number 3. Not thrilled with that. I think they should be number 2. Call me SEC bias. Call me whatever you want. I give a shit. Georgia won their conference championship. They should be ranked above a team who didn't. They've got the same record. I know Ohio State lost to the number 2 team in the country, but I still, nonetheless, I think you rank Georgia above Ohio State. I think that could very well be a national championship. I think the national championship could be Indiana and Georgia. I think Georgia's poised to make a run. Feels like one of the hottest teams in the country at the right time, and Kirby has them boys clicking. Defensive line, the trenches, they're just dominant yesterday. All right, so that was going to happen. Texas Tech is number 4. So all right, we've got the quarterfinals set here. We got the top 4, the bye set. Let's progress on here. Texas Tech is another team that I really, truly am happy for. That was their first ever Big 12 championship. That was so damn cool to see yesterday. A real Texas team, a lot of Texas guys on there being able to celebrate it in AT&T Stadium. And a lot of people want to be moved to Vegas, but I like it in Texas. Maybe a little biased, but I like it in Texas. And I do think that Texas Tech can absolutely make a run too. Like I said, this feels like an SEC team in the Big 12. They just feel different. But I will say they got to improve that Wi-Fi a little bit in Lubbock. That picture was a little grainy, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. All right, Oregon is going to be your 5 seed, so they're likely going to be playing a G5, and you'll be seeing that Oregon Texas Tech rematch from a couple years ago, 2023. Oregon won that one. Will the Red Raiders get their revenge? It's the Tyler Shuck game, as you like to call it. Oregon, like I was saying earlier, I think they can make a run. I love the mentality. I mean, I feel like every team personifies the head coach. Oregon does a great job at that, but they're also very banged up right now. Got a lot of injuries. Offensive line, wide receivers. Hopefully they can rest up and get better over these next couple weeks. And Oregon lost both of their coordinators, Tosh Lupoy and Will Stein, head coaching jobs. So could there be some Detroit Lions syndrome going on with that here? It kind of feels like that. Will the Red Raiders be their commanders? All right, Ole Miss is number 6, so if they move on, we get a little SEC matchup in the quarterfinals. They could be playing an ACC team. They could be playing another G5, or they could be playing Notre Dame. It'll be interesting to see who it is. I kind of hope Ole Miss makes a run. I'm not going to lie. I really hope that they make a run. After everything that's happened to them with the whole Lane Kiffin situation these past couple of weeks, I would love to see Ole Miss make a really good run. I mean, Pete Golding is head coach now, and so being an Alabama fan, I know how that plays, but I would love to see Ole Miss make a run. All right, Texas A&M is in at number 7. So if they win, they would play Ohio State, and let me look that up. Has that matchup ever happened? This could be one of those new matchups. I always love seeing new matchups. Has that ever happened? Oh, they have played. What year was it? They played 4 times. And A&M is 0-4 against Ohio State. The last time they played was 1999. Huh. All right. Like I said before, Oklahoma is a lock at number 8. So they win. They move on and play Indiana. I'm curious to see if Alabama is going to be their matchup here, because that'll be a rematch of what we saw a few weeks ago, and it'll be in Norman this time. So I didn't love the matchup in the interior and the trenches last time they played. I'm not going to like it just flipping locations here and going up to Norman. I mean, we saw it happen in Tuscaloosa, so I would probably lean Oklahoma if that were the matchup. Alabama's best matchup is definitely, as a fan, I'm hoping for either the 10 or the 11 seed. All right, here we go. This is, Like Delmonico says, this is where it gets good. Shout out to Delmonico's steakhouse in upstate New York. Great marketing they have. I mean, look at Alabama's strength of schedule 6th compared to Notre Dame's 44. Like, give me a fucking break. We know what the right decision is here. All right, Alabama is getting the rematch with the Oklahoma Sooners. Don't love that matchup for the Tide. Don't love that matchup for them, but I think the committee made the right decision by letting them in, and now I thought about this a lot over the past 12 hours, and I firmly believe that the best decision for the image of the CFP and for the business of the CFP and the integrity of the system is to let Miami in. I think if you let Miami in as the 10 and they get a rematch with A&M, that was a home and home that we had a couple years ago that will be brought back to life. What's crazy, though, is Alabama didn't drop a spot. I thought we could have gone down to number 10 and played Texas A&M. All right. You know the right decision here. CFP, you know what to do. Come on, baby. All right, Booger. We get it, bro. We get it. Let's show who's next. Y'all be dragging this thing out. All right, here it is. Miami. They made the right decision. The CFP makes the right decision. They put Miami in. Time to join a conference, Notre Dame. That's the statement. That is the statement that the CFP had to make. And I think that this is going to be groundbreaking for the sport. Notre Dame, you now have no choice but to join a conference. You want to be judged like the rest of us? That's what you got to do. They absolutely just made the right decision right there. I'll be honest. You maybe could have flipped Alabama and Miami. You could have flipped Georgia and Ohio State. But outside of that, I really have no issue with what I'm seeing right now. I think that this is all perfectly fair. Yeah, I mean, looking at their resumes, Notre Dame and Miami are pretty dead even. So just like in the NFL, what does it come down to? Head to head. I mean, that's only fair. And I think that we have some good first round games. Oklahoma, Alabama, and Miami A&M. Those are going to be good games. The other ones with the at-larges, I mean, that Oregon one, that Ole Miss one too. I'm excited to see the rematch of Ole Miss and Georgia because I really think that you're going to get that there. That's going to be a delayed gratification. But yes, Miami is in, Notre Dame is out, and that is the best thing that could have happened for this sport. And that is absolutely what needed to happen. Sorry, Notre Dame. Those fans have been a little crazy with their standards the past couple of weeks as well. So I don't feel bad at all. All right, who are the at-larges? That is what's going to be interesting here. Do they let Duke in from last night? Because you already let an ACC team in who didn't win the ACC championship. Do you let the champion in? Or is this going to be a James Madison and Tulane ordeal? Mind you, if they do let Duke in at the 11th spot, them and Ole Miss was a matchup last year in bowl seasons. That would be another, not even bowl, but first round game in Oxford, Mississippi. Man, the Ole Miss Tulane rematch. No way. We literally talked about that 15 minutes ago. It was a bloodbath the first time. It'll be a bloodbath the second time. But we know one thing. It'll be a party in the SIP. We got home playoff games in Oxford, Mississippi, and in College Station, Texas. That's going to be absolutely electric. That atmosphere in College Station is going to be absolutely unreal. So it's likely going to be. I'm thinking it's going to be James Madison playing Oregon. If I had to guess, it's going to be James Madison playing Oregon. Probably should be Duke. I mean, it's tough letting a 5-loss team in the playoff, but then we it's going to happen with James Madison. All right, it is James Madison. So I look at week 1 here. I see 2 blowouts and I see 2 competitive games. Pretty basic, pretty surface level here. James Madison was they've had a great season, but I think that letting 2 G5 teams in was not great, and I've been saying it for a while that there should be a playoff just for the G5 teams because both these teams are going to get smacked up. As much as I love Tulane and James Madison, that's just the reality. All right, let's do some predictions here. Oregon, James Madison, that point spread is going to be massive. I like Oregon to win dominant fashion. You got Alabama and Oklahoma playing each other here in the rematch. Notre Dame is officially the first team out. They're sitting at 13. Yeah, Alabama, Oklahoma, the rematch in Norman this time. Like I said yesterday, success starts in the trenches, and so for that reason, I'm taking the Sooners to win that. Ole Miss and Tulane, that rematch, don't have to go into that too much. I like Ole Miss to win in dominant fashion. And then we've got Miami and Texas A&M. Miami is going to be coming to a raucous Kyle Fields. I think Texas A&M is a better team, and I think that Texas A&M will win that game and advance on to play Ohio State. All right, I want to pull up the bracket here so I can continue to go through these predictions for y'all here. Okay, let's predict these games. We've got it up. So then you would have Oregon moving on to play Texas Tech in a bowl game. You'd have Oklahoma going on to play Indiana. You'd have Ole Miss moving on to play Georgia, and then you'd have A&M going on to play Ohio State. I think it's been a great run for Texas A&M, but as of right now, I would like Ohio State to win that. You've got Ole Miss and Georgia playing each other. I think Ole Miss competes with them well, but I think that Georgia wins by probably 13 points at the end. I would take Georgia. And then you would have, well, where did it go? Then you'd have Oklahoma playing Indiana. As great as Oklahoma's defense is, I would take Indiana to win that thing. And then you'd have Oregon, Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech gets it done. I'm going to shoot my shot with the Big 12. I think Tech gets it done and goes on to the semis here, where they would play Indiana. But I would like Indiana to win that. And then you've got Georgia and Ohio State. I would like Georgia to win that game. And then you have Indiana and Georgia playing each other for a national championship. And from the surface level, I would like Georgia to be your national champion. So there's my condensed CFP bracket predictions based on what I saw here. But at the end of the day, after seeing all of this happen, the CFP absolutely made the right decision by letting Miami in and keeping Notre Dame out. They made a statement. It is time for Notre Dame to join a conference. They made a business decision, and it's time for them to stand on it. And Alabama should not have been punished for playing in a conference championship game. One more game that Miami and Notre Dame didn't have to worry about. But I'm still not huge on them going into that rematch against Oklahoma, But we're seeing these matchups for the first time. Those are my surface level predictions. I'll have some more in-depth ones in these weeks to come. I'll do a whole prediction video in these weeks to come. But thank you all for tuning in here today. Got to digest what we just saw. We'll be having bowl games coming out too. We're going to be Luke and I will be doing a little bowl game mania here at some point. We'll do a little pick show either this week or the following. We got Army Navy next weekends. We've got the Heisman winner revealed next weekend, so a lot of fun stuff coming. But this is going to be a fun playoff. I mean, we have a lot of exciting potential matchups, and the one thing that I loved about expanding the field always was the potential for matchups you haven't seen in a while, matchups between high-octane teams, and it's the possibility of seeing Ohio State and A&M, or Indiana and Texas Tech, Georgia and Ohio State playing each other again. I'm damn excited to see that. I'm real excited to see A&M play Miami. I'm excited to see a rematch between Alabama and Oklahoma in the opposite place this time. I'm curious to see when those schedules are going to be. I'll be back in New York. We'll be doing reaction videos to that the whole time. But the CFP got it right. Outside of Ohio State being ranked above Georgia, Miami and Alabama not being flipped, and two G5 teams getting in and not an ACC, or even not Notre Dame. I think we let Notre Dame in, and not one of them. I think that's the crazier thing, and not even Notre Dame pivoted against Miami, but letting James Madison in and not having a spot for Notre Dame, I think will be the crazier point. But the committee had to make a statement about Notre Dame and not being in a conference. It's time to join one. You know, I know that they had two quality losses this year. I get that. But you can't cherry pick your schedule and organize it in a fashion to make you look good and then have the CFP evaluate you the same way they evaluate Georgia or Ohio State. I'm sorry. The CFP makes the right decision. That's what I think. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Thank you all for tuning in today, and watch some NFL football.